Hello everyone, this is Eva and you are watching Israeli startup channel ISUP. So today, WhiteSource is up. So we're with the CEO of WhiteSource, Rami Sass. So we're going to have a great, nice interview with him and stay focused. So hello Rami.
Hello, nice to meet you.
It's very nice to meet you. So I heard WhiteSource help you to manage your open source libraries. So how does it work? Can you please explain us?
Sure. WhiteSource is actually different from any existing solution in the marketplace by integrating with the development tools that are already in play with software companies. So there's literally nothing the development team has to change in their normal development process in order to enjoy the benefits of the WhiteSource service. We have a wide range of plugins that can connect to whatever it is that they might be already using. And it takes away all the pain of tracking their open source libraries in use, all of their dependencies, and worst of all, the licenses of the libraries and the licenses of the dependencies, which are all very difficult to research manually. And what the service does is connect to your development environment and automatically construct the full inventory of your open source component with their licenses and the licenses of dependencies, and alert you about existing risk and let you know what your current situation is, and allow it to produce reports in a click of a button to share with your partners, investors, clients, whoever needs to be exposed to this information, with literally zero effort from the development team.
So is it for programmers to save their time and money?
It's a monitoring service in the sense that it does save the time developers would need to invest in trying to figure out, first of all, what open source components are already being used in their software, and secondly, what the licensing terms are. And then it would help you make sure that you are complying with the licensing requirements and keep you out of legal trouble, which very quickly can turn into business trouble.
Okay, so for now, how is the market for WhiteSource? Its users and maybe market prospect?
Okay, so we're very much in the beginning of our marketing efforts, but the model we are implementing is a freemium model. So we've been running our free version for a little over a year now, and we've had over 600 organizations already sign up to our free version. A few months ago we started selling commercial versions, and we've also made some interesting commercial deals, and it's looking very good for us. We get very good traction from the marketplace.
I noticed that you are a serial entrepreneur after your the company you had last time. So what is the real motivation of coming up with WhiteSource?
Actually, WhiteSource was born as a result of our experience with the previous company. We're three partners in this company, and we know each other from another company called Eurekaify that was acquired by CA in 2008. And during the due diligence process of the acquisition, we found ourselves spending a disproportionate amount of time and effort in researching our open source usage and the licenses of the dependencies, and trying to figure out what the requirements were, and then try to prove to the acquiring party, to CA, that we were complying with the licensing requirements, because they wanted to make sure that they're not getting into any trouble by buying us out. So it was very laborious and very tedious and very pressuring. It was very time sensitive. We wanted to complete the transaction successfully, and there was a lot of tension around this issue. So luckily it ended well, but it occurred to us that it was not a good way to, not just for us, it wasn't a personal occurrence, for any software company to not manage their usage of open source in an orderly fashion. Because had we discovered some issue with our open source at that time, that would have been the worst possible point in time to find out that we have a problem and then try to fix it as quickly as possible within the due diligence, and put us at great risk around this deal, around the M&A. So we thought that this is a general problem. It wasn't something that just happened to us, and it seemed that any software company writing code using open source would need to manage their open source in a better way and to be aware of legal issues in real time and resolve them when they are still small and cheap to handle, and not wait for an M&A where everything can go wrong.
Mm-hmm. So where does the name of WhiteSource comes from?
So we were trying to sort of convey the message that your source goes from black to white, in the sense that at least you know what's going on in your source. So that's where the name comes from.
So how do you really conduct the marketing in terms of like online or offline?
So we do both. We have sort of two or more than two channels that we use. One is direct online advertising and reaching out to bloggers and online venues that promote a sort of solution. We also are very active in social networks and do a lot of work there. We communicate with the community. Open source has a lot of communities, so it's relatively easy to reach out, and we do some work there. We attend conferences. We do a lot of webinars online. In fact, we have one today later on.
Yes.
That you know about. And we also reach out directly to companies that we suspect have this issue. So, we look at the software company and the technology, and we sort of guess that they have an issue with open source, and most of the time we're right. And we reach out directly to the person we think is responsible for that issue. And in good percentages, we hit the right person, and then we continue the conversation with them.
So, concerning today's webinar, can you please tell us a little bit more about open source security?
Sure. Today's webinar is to introduce a new feature that we are now developing that has to do with discovery and monitoring of open source security vulnerabilities. Because what's happening in software companies is that they're using a lot of open source code, and they may actually have some process in place to monitor their own code for security vulnerabilities and do QA on it and make sure that their product that they are developing is not exposed to hacks or breaches, but they hardly ever do the same process for the open source code that they use. And the thing is that a lot of open source projects keep track of vulnerabilities and publish them, and there are central repositories online that monitor for open source known vulnerabilities. The thing is that these repositories are very, very difficult to investigate. Developers don't really proactively go out and try to look for vulnerabilities, so they remain hidden. And what we do is sort of bridge this gap by proactively reporting on the known vulnerabilities to the clients or to our users, because we already know what open source they're using. Once they've connected their development environment and WhiteSource service has a full list of their open source inventory, we can know if any of the libraries that they're using has a security vulnerability, and then alert them to that and let them fix it again in real time and not when it's already too late.
Mm-hmm. So, what is the vision of WhiteSource in terms of your conducting these webinars, and also the future, future way that WhiteSource really wants to go?
So generally, we see ourselves as ideally the place to go for any open source related issue when developing software products. We are not there yet, right? But that's the vision. We want to be a full service place for developers or development teams to conduct everything that has to do around open source, possibly including services, professional services that they might need, or some more advice, or do research, or maybe even proactively suggest replacement when necessary for open source libraries that went out of date or have better or competitive or alternatives in the marketplace. We'll be able to help you select. That's sort of the future of where WhiteSource is going to be. Currently, we're more focused on helping you get the full benefit from the open source that you are already using, and make sure that this issue is being handled in real time and during the development life cycle, and not just on release or on major deals like M&As or OEMs where it's too late to find problems.
Mm-hmm. So how do you really monetize from its users?
We just, there's no big trick here. We charge, it's a SaaS service, a cloud-based SaaS service, so we do a yearly subscription based on the volume of usage for each client.
Mm-hmm. And can you please tell us about the current funding stage of WhiteSource?
Sure. The company started in 2011, and we entered a government-based incubator for 2 years, which ended at the beginning of this year, at which point we did a private funding round. So there are no VCs currently invested in the company. We have a group of private investors that funded us as a sort of Series A round at April of this year.
Yes.
That's pretty much our current state.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so is there anything you'd like to give advice to young entrepreneurs?
Yeah, just the best advice I can give is just to go for it, not worry, not to fear. There's a lot to fear when starting a new company and going out on your own, and there's a lot of time the fear is very paralyzing. But I think what especially young people should do is sort of ignore that fear. It might even be a little bit irrational to ignore fear, but just dive in and try not to worry about the consequences too much. Especially if you're young, you'll still have ways out if things don't work out. So not to worry too much. I think that's the best thing. Because
can you tell us the biggest obstacle that you had to encounter as being an entrepreneur, and how did you overcome?
That's difficult because there's no one big thing that you encounter. There's every day there's some new challenge coming towards you that you have to deal with. So I think the best thing to do is sort of be elastic, be adaptive, not to keep holding on to some principle that you set out in the beginning of the way. Sort of adapt yourself to the market, to the investors, to your partners. You need to make sure that you're not colliding with anyone. So it requires a lot of the ability to, rethink all the time the decisions that you made last month or last year. And I think, maybe that's even the biggest challenge, to be able to, always question yourself and the decision that you made previously that seemed like the right decision, but all of a sudden, circumstances change, and you have to rethink them.
Oh, being elastic,
Yeah.
That's a good advice. So, to sum up, what would you like to say to Korean market and Korean audience watching?
So basically, honestly, I'm not that familiar with the Korean people, not as much as I would like to be. I have heard, just only good things. Basically, maybe I think, just go out there and be bold and believe in yourself, and try to do what you believe in.
Great. So, thank you so much for your time and interview, and thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you next time. Bye bye.